Ever wondered why we often struggle with making decisions? Why do we sometimes end up making choices that don't seem to be in our best interest? Decision-making can often feel like navigating a complex labyrinth. We're constantly trying to predict the consequences of our choices, making educated guesses about the future and weighing the pros and cons. But when you add other people into the mix, the complexity increases exponentially. Every player in the game of life has their motives, strategies, and unpredictable human quirks. This is where game theory comes into play. It's a theoretical framework that helps us conceive social situations among competing players. In some respects, game theory is the science of strategy, or at least the optimal decision-making of independent and competing actors in a strategic setting. Imagine you're playing a game of chess. Each move you make is strategic, calculated to outmaneuver your opponent. But your opponent is doing the same, thinking several moves ahead and trying to predict your strategy. It's a delicate dance, a battle of wits, and the outcome is uncertain until the very end. Game theory takes this concept and applies it to real-world scenarios. It's not just about winning or losing, but about making the best possible decisions given the circumstances. It deals with the hard choices we make in business, economics, politics, and even our personal lives. Here's the kicker. Game theory doesn't just analyze the decisions we make, but also the decisions of others around us. It helps us understand how other players might act and react, and how their decisions could affect our own. It's about anticipating, strategizing, and adapting. But of course, it's not as simple as it sounds. There are countless variables to consider, and each decision can have far-reaching consequences. Game theory, in essence, is the science of strategic thinking. It's about how we navigate through life's endless chess game. It's a fascinating field, full of intrigue and endless possibilities. So, buckle up and let's delve deeper into the world of game theory. But what is game theory really? And how does it help us understand the world around us? Think of game theory as a theoretical framework that dissects social situations among competing players. It's a fascinating blend of mathematics, psychology, and philosophy, all focused on one thing: decision-making. Imagine you're in a chess game. Your every move is strategic, calculated, and contingent on the moves of your opponent. Game theory is like that, but applied to real-life scenarios. It's all about understanding how and why we make the decisions we do, especially when those decisions interact with the decisions of others. At its core, game theory is about optimal decision-making among independent and competing actors in a strategic setting. These actors could be individuals, firms, nations, or even species in an ecosystem. The games they play can range from bidding in an auction, deciding on product pricing, to making geopolitical decisions. The beauty of game theory lies in its ability to predict outcomes based on the player's choices. It does this by identifying the strategies that will give each player the best possible outcome, given the strategies the other players are using. But it's not just about winning or losing. Game theory also delves into cooperative games, where the objective is not to beat the other players, but to find ways to work together to achieve a common goal. This adds another layer of complexity to the process of decision-making. It's important to note that game theory is not a crystal ball. It doesn't predict the future. Instead, it provides a way of thinking about strategic interactions, helping us to understand potential outcomes and to make better decisions. So, if you've ever wondered why companies price their products a certain way, or why nations choose to cooperate on some issues and compete on others, or even why animals behave the way they do in the wild, the answers can often be found through the lens of game theory. Game theory is a lens through which we can better understand the art of strategic decision-making. Now let us explore one of the most fascinating concepts in game theory, the Nash Equilibrium. Imagine a game, not a game of chance but one of strategy, where each player's decision influences the others. A game where the optimal outcome depends not just on your actions, but on anticipating the actions of others. This is the setting in which we find the Nash Equilibrium. Named after mathematician John Nash, it's a principle that states, in a game involving two or more players, a Nash equilibrium is reached when each player has chosen their strategy, and no player can benefit from changing their decision independently, given what the other players have chosen. It's a point of stability, a state of balance, where everyone has made their best possible move, considering the choices of others. Now you might wonder, why is this important? Why should we care about a concept from a theoretical game? Well, the magic of the Nash Equilibrium lies in its broad applicability, far beyond the realm of games. It's a fundamental concept in economics, where it helps us understand how different agents in the market, be it consumers, firms, or countries, interact with each other. Each player or agent makes their best decision, given what they believe the others will do. And once this equilibrium is reached, no one has an incentive to change their strategy unilaterally. Consider an auction. Bidders decide their maximum bid based on their valuation of the item and their expectation of what others might bid. Once all bids are in, no one can increase their payoff by changing their bid given the bids of others. That's a Nash equilibrium. Or think of competing businesses setting their prices. Each company sets its price considering the expected price of its competitors. Once these prices are set, no company can increase its profit by changing its price alone, given the prices of others. Again, a Nash equilibrium. The Nash equilibrium is a testament to the delicate balance of strategic decision-making. It encapsulates the interplay of individual decisions and collective outcomes, the dance of strategy and counter-strategy, the delicate balance of competition and cooperation. It's the magic of game theory, in action. But where do we see the effects of game theory? How does it impact our everyday lives? Game theory, with its strategic decision-making, has profound implications across numerous fields. Let's delve into some of them. In economics, game theory helps economists understand how market participants make decisions. For instance, it provides insights into how firms in an oligopolistic market may engage in tacit collusion to maximize their profits, or how countries might behave in international trade negotiations. Game theory also illuminates how people make choices about savings, investments, and consumption, shaping economic policies and strategies. Moving on to business, game theory aids in competitive strategy. Businesses use it to anticipate competitors' moves, evaluate strategic investments or acquisitions, and make pricing decisions. For instance, two competing businesses might use game theory to decide whether to lower their prices, raise them, or keep them the same. By modeling these decisions as a game, they can identify the best strategy under various scenarios. Next up, product pricing. Game theory is used by firms to determine optimal pricing strategies. By considering how competitors might react to a price change, firms can make more informed pricing decisions. This could involve setting a price to deter entry by potential competitors, or pricing a product to maximize profits in the face of competition. Now, let's talk about project management. Game theory can help project managers understand the dynamics among team members, stakeholders, and other parties. It can guide them in making decisions about resource allocation, task assignment, and conflict resolution. By considering the potential actions and reactions of the different players, project managers can navigate complex projects more effectively. So you see, game theory is not just a fascinating concept confined to textbooks. It has real-world implications that shape our economy, our businesses, and even our daily work. Whether you're a business owner deciding on your next move, a consumer contemplating a purchase, or a project manager juggling resources, game theory is likely playing a role in your decision-making process. From setting product prices to managing projects, game theory's influence is far-reaching. Let's delve a little deeper and understand the difference between zero-sum and non-zero-sum games. In the world of game theory, games are often classified into two types: zero-sum and non-zero-sum games. The distinction? The total gains and losses of all players in the game. Think of a zero-sum game as a pie. If you and I were to split a pie, and I take a bigger piece, that automatically means there's less pie for you. The total sum of our pieces will always equal the whole pie. This is the essence of a zero-sum game. It's a scenario where one person's gain is another's loss, so the net change in wealth or benefit is zero. Classic examples of zero-sum games include poker and chess. In these games, one player's win means the other's loss. On the other hand, non-zero-sum games are scenarios where the total of wins and losses can be more than zero. This means it's possible for all players to win, or for all to lose. Sounds unusual, right? But it's more common than you might think. Consider a negotiation between two businesses about a potential partnership. If they negotiate well, both could end up gaining more than what they initially had. This is a classic example of a non-zero-sum game. The total wealth or benefit after the game can actually increase or decrease, depending on the decisions made by the players. But why does this matter? Well, understanding whether you are in a zero-sum or non-zero-sum game can greatly influence your strategy. In a zero-sum game, your best bet is to maximize your own gain without regard for others. However, in a non-zero-sum game, collaboration and negotiation can lead to a win-win situation for all players involved. Understanding these different game types is crucial to mastering strategic decision-making. So, whether it's a business negotiation or a friendly game of poker, knowing the game you're playing can give you the upper hand. Now that we've got a grasp on the basics, let's see game theory in action. One of the most classic examples of game theory is the prisoner's dilemma. Imagine two criminals arrested and held in separate cells, unable to communicate with each other. The prosecutor doesn't have enough evidence to convict them on the main charge, so they offer each prisoner a bargain. Confess and testify against the other, and you'll get a reduced sentence. If both stay silent, they'll serve a year in jail. If both confess, they'll serve 2 years. But if one confesses and the other stays silent, the one who confesses walks free while the other serves 3 years. The optimal strategy here, according to game theory, is for both to confess. Why? Because regardless of what the other does, each prisoner gets a better outcome by confessing. If the other stays silent, confessing means walking free instead of serving a year. If the other confesses, confessing means serving 2 years instead of 3. This is a demonstration of the Nash Equilibrium, where each player's strategy is the best response to the strategies of others. Another real-life example is product pricing. Two competing businesses might want to set their prices to maximize profit. If one business lowers its price, it could steal customers from the other. But if both businesses lower their prices, they might end up making less profit overall. Again, the Nash Equilibrium comes into play, as the optimal strategy for each business depends on what the other does. These examples demonstrate that game theory isn't just a theoretical concept. It's a practical tool that can help us understand and navigate complex strategic situations, whether they involve criminal charges, business decisions, or any other scenario where people or entities with different goals are interacting. These examples showcase the practical implications of game theory. On the other side, however, like all theories, game theory too has its limitations. Let's delve into the constraints of this fascinating tool. First off, game theory assumes rationality among players. It anticipates that every player involved will always make decisions that maximize their benefit. In reality, however, humans are not always rational. Emotions, biases, or lack of information often drive our decisions, making them less than optimal. Secondly, game theory relies heavily on the concept of common knowledge. It presumes that all players have the same information about the game's rules and each other's preferences and strategies. But real-world situations rarely provide such perfect information symmetry. For example, in business negotiations or political dealings, parties often hold back information or even mislead others to gain an advantage. Another limitation lies in the assumption of static preferences. Game theory assumes that a player's preferences remain constant throughout the game. However, in reality, preferences can change due to a variety of factors like changing market dynamics, personal circumstances, or even a simple change of heart. Furthermore, game theory struggles with complex multiplayer scenarios. The more players involved in a game, the more difficult it becomes to predict outcomes accurately. Also, the nature of interactions can become exponentially complex, making the application of game theory less practical. Lastly, game theory is a tool for understanding decision-making, not predicting behavior. It doesn't account for unpredictable elements such as chance or luck, which can significantly alter the outcome of a game. Nevertheless, it's essential to remember that game theory is a theoretical model. Like all models, it simplifies reality to make it easier to understand. Real-world situations are often messier and more complex than any model can capture. So, while game theory offers valuable insights into strategic decision-making, it's just one of many tools we can use to understand the complex world of decision-making. It's a map, not the territory. Despite its limitations, game theory remains an invaluable tool in our decision-making toolkit. So, what can we take away from our exploration of game theory? Understanding this fascinating field of study equips us to make more strategic decisions. It's the science of strategy, the art of decision-making among independent and competing actors in a strategic setting. Remember the Nash Equilibrium? It's an outcome that once reached, no player can increase payoff by changing decisions unilaterally. Quite a revelation, isn't it? Game theory has profound impacts on various spheres like economics, business, product pricing, project management, and more. It helps us understand the dynamics of zero-sum and non-zero-sum games, and provides insights into complex scenarios like the prisoner's dilemma. But it's not without limitations. It's a theoretical framework, and may not always accurately predict real-world outcomes. So, apply it judiciously in your daily life. Understand its strategies, but also acknowledge its limitations. Remember, game theory is not about winning or losing. It's about making the most strategic decision given the circumstances. So, think strategically, act wisely,